knows the difficulty of the quarterback position this year of how we was dealt it. But of course, having a quarterback that's already had the season under his belt with us, knew the plays, knew the playbook, knew the players. Of course, throwing to me, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, all of these guys. I definitely felt like we would have done better. But it is what it is.
Okay, reaction to missing Sam Darnold.
Listen, I think he's definitely right, Brew. I don't think I would have said it. Like
because he didn't say it. He said it nicely.
Yeah, but I just don't listen. The numbers are Darnold last year, Darnold with the Vikings, and then JJ with the Vikings. It's not like you're like, well, actually, here's what it's not even close. And everybody it's not debatable. I just don't know, Coach, how helpful it is for JJ, who they hope is their quarterback next year, to hear this from the best player on the team. I agree with him.
It's just so blatantly obvious. Like if he didn't say it, it was almost like patronizing, because it's so obvious. I feel like.
Well, the owners just said it. I mean, the owners just said it loud and clear. They just fired the GM, and they fired him because he let Sam Darnold go. So that was a $25 million cap hit if they had franchised him. And then there's been talk about the fact that they could have traded up to get Drake May. So now Drake May, who they didn't get in the trade, and Sam Darnold are playing each other in the Super Bowl, so that's problematic. And then there's also Daniel Jones. He was in the building too, and goes and has a really, surprisingly positive season in Indianapolis. So you've got three guys that played much better than the guy that was there. And for him to say what he said, I'm with you, Brew. The owners just said it loud and clear how they felt about the quarterback decision and about the quarterback situation. So he's just parroting that.
The Vikings are lucky Justin Jefferson is kind of a fun-loving guy, because as much as I criticize like A.J. Brown, he could probably use a little bit of A.J. Brown in him. Just not maybe to go that far, but Justin Jefferson would be fully within his rights to be ticked off. This is his career. Like in 2021, he had 1,600 yards receiving. 2022, 1,800. That's with Kirk Cousins. 2024 with Darnold, he had 1,500. And then this year, career lows in yards. He was just over 1,000 yards per catch. He only had 2 touchdowns. Like, this is his career. We just talked about last week. Is he still the best receiver in the league?
They finally found someone who could stop him.
His quarterback, right? Like he still could be, obviously is on a Hall of Fame pace, but it's stuff like that where it's like, dude, I'm busting my butt to be the best I can be. Get me a quarterback.
KW, do you want him traded too? Because you know who it reminds me of?
Diggs. Stephon Diggs?
No, he's the offensive Myles Garrett at this point.
All right. That concludes the segment. Therefore, it is intriguing because it is acceptable for statistics to decline, particularly as long as you are securing victories, and especially if you are reaching a Super Bowl, naturally, capturing a Super Bowl, etc. However, this season could not have progressed any more unfavorably for the Minnesota Vikings because individuals perceived that they possessed Super Bowl capability last year. They are defeated, and now they are entering this year. Individuals continued declaring this roster, this coaching staff, we possess the offense, we possess the defense, we possess everything. And it was perpetually a hazard to introduce a young quarterback who has never participated in an NFL regular season contest, who is recovering from an injury and advancing from a quarterback who, quite frankly, was phenomenal, guided you to being a premier team in the NFL, who possessed an incredible connection with the coach and the receivers. And then you advance from that quarterback, and that quarterback directs the Seahawks to an elite squad. And now to the Super Bowl. It is catastrophic. It is absolutely catastrophic. And so, yes, Justin Jefferson is devastated. This is what I attempted to express in my prior video discussing this. The athletes are devastated. They are not unintelligent. They perceive it. They witness it. They undergo it. And they are merely like, we possess this individual within the organization. And this is what I had articulated regarding J.J. McCarthy as an individual who has defended him. Justin Jefferson, and anyone else you desire to employ. They are not, they are the principal character in their own narrative. They are not present for J.J. McCarthy. They are present for themselves, for their own journey in the NFL. That is how it functions. That is how it functions. And you hear coaches somewhat discuss this perpetually. Oh, I owe it to the individuals, or, I must accomplish what is optimal for the team and what they accomplished and how they managed J.J. McCarthy and what now, apparently, the conviction surrounding what J.J. was capable of accomplishing in this instant of time. Because now you are hearing accounts of Kevin O'Connell being like, well, he perpetually had uncertainties about what JJ was, how proficient he was going to be in this instant. In this instant, not long term, but in this immediate instant. It is like, okay, if that is all accurate, then you failed the squad. You failed the squad. Individuals prefer to indicate like some turnovers that Josh Allen committed in the postseason, or Jalen Hurts missing a pass, or A.J. Brown dropping a reception. And we're capable of genuinely indicating and declaring, you were defeated. If you secure that ball, you triumph. Mark Andrews dropping the 2-point conversion. You are the reason we were defeated. You are the reason we were defeated. But we neglect to occasionally perceive when the franchise itself, the organization itself, whether ownership, general manager, coach, whatever, fails. And not like, oh, they selected the incorrect individual, or they constructed an inferior offensive line or something. They did not execute a maneuver in free agency. Like, this is a tangible determination that directly guided you to be defeated and be defeated substantially. And when you can perceive the stark contrast of now Sam Darnold possessing the success that he is experiencing with Seattle, it renders it even more stark, correct? It renders it even more, and like a graphic, like, this does not accomplish it justice, honestly, because it is irrelevant, because it is acceptable for J.J. McCarthy to encounter difficulties in his inaugural year as a starter. I articulated that throughout the entire season. I was never anticipating him to be capable of leaping onto the Minnesota Vikings and merely be instantly exceptional. That was perpetually nonsense. It simply does not transpire. It simply does not transpire. And that was perpetually the dialogue that the Minnesota Vikings necessitated to deliberate and take seriously. We possess a roster. We possess a squad. We possess a team. We possess a coaching staff that we genuinely can triumph now with. What do we accomplish? And they executed the incorrect maneuver, and it directly guided them to miss the postseason, and it directly guided the Seattle Seahawks to reach the literal Super Bowl. It is as far of a contrast as you potentially can obtain. You possess a quarterback presently in Sam Darnold who could triumph, who is the frontrunner to capture the Super Bowl, most valuable player contrasted with what the Vikings possessed. No one is mistaking J.J. McCarthy presently with a Super Bowl most valuable player. And he has experienced some moments. He has experienced some contests. He has experienced some, genuinely phenomenal moments. Genuinely thrilling as well, but astonishing. He was inconsistent as a young quarterback. Astonishing. He possesses a lengthy catalog of matters that he necessitates to labor on merely even from his mechanics. Like astonishing to no one. And so this was perpetually the reciprocal of like, well, we must construct around JJ this. No, you endeavor to secure a Super Bowl when you can secure a Super Bowl. You are not on J.J. McCarthy's chronology. It is not how it functions. And if you possess the roster that can be exceptional, the coaching staff that can be exceptional, you must adapt. You must formulate the determinations based on all of this. And like many declared, and I discussed this in the commentary section, like Kevin O'Connell had to have possessed some influence in this. He had to have possessed a substantial amount of influence in this. Therefore, the entire matter is somewhat becoming a little peculiar now as well, because I hear accounts that like, oh, genuinely Kevin O'Connell was not that, and then like, well, now we are blaming the general manager. And it is merely like, huh? I do not know. Kevin O'Connell executed a couple authority maneuvers over these couple of years, and genuinely ensured that he acquired the authority. Therefore, I discover it challenging to believe that he was like, I desire Sam Darnold present. And they were like, no, I am not purchasing that. I am not purchasing that. Therefore, there exist some inquiries, and quite frankly, this approaching season, the entire globe is going to be on J.J. McCarthy's shoulders. The entire globe. If he performs proficiently, merely satisfactory, that progresses such a considerable distance. If he experiences a comparable season to what we are perceiving what we witnessed last year. Oh man. I would not be astonished if they cleanse the organization. Seriously, I would not be astonished if everything simply absolutely collapses. That is probably what would have transpired to even Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers, but they were fortunate with Brock Purdy. If Brock Purdy did not materialize to be Brock Purdy, and he was merely some ordinary backup quarterback, and the entire situation with Trey Lance and that merely proceeded nowhere rapidly, there exists a substantial rationale to believe that, like, Shanahan concludes being terminated or something. I imply seriously, you would have to possess such courage of your convictions to comprehend, okay, I believe Shanahan is an unbelievable coach. There were merely some errors committed with quarterback, but we typically do not perceive that. They typically like proprietors and whatnot, and whoever else possesses authority at that juncture is typically merely like, we are SL, we are slashing everything. We are absolutely merely slashing everything, whether it is the correct maneuver or not. Correct. Terminating a Shanahan would have been the incorrect maneuver. I believe the Philadelphia Eagles terminating Andy Reid all those years ago was the incorrect maneuver. But we perceive it perpetually. And then you do discover yourself in a peculiar predicament where you are like, all right, I suppose we are going to advance from Justin Jefferson. He is accessible. Oh, so he is accessible on the trading market. You transform into like a Miami Dolphins variety of predicament or something. Like you merely like unload everything and it becomes peculiar swiftly. We perceive that in the NFL so many instances. 1 minute, Mike McDaniel is directing that offense and the Miami Dolphins to like the most prolific offense in the NFL. Individuals neglect. They were literally discussing Tua Tagovailoa being the most valuable player. And it was not until they were defeated by the Baltimore Ravens, because it was between Lamar and Tua, and then Lamar was exceptional, Tua was not. And like there you proceed that concluded the most valuable player dialogue. But like individuals could not be any more elevated on the Miami Dolphins and Tua Tagovailoa, Mike McDaniel. Like it was merely through the ceiling now. It is merely a catastrophe, correct? Terminating coaches, benching quarterbacks, like it proceeds rapidly. Presently, listen, I believe the Minnesota Vikings are more effectively managed and, all that beneficial material, but like matters become peculiar swiftly. And this is the initial domino to descend. Not to declare that they are all going to descend, but it is the initial one to descend. And that if it is a tumultuous season, this approaching season, matters can become peculiar swiftly. I disregard what variety of extensions were signed. I disregard how much finances like it. None of that signifies. It is 2026, and it merely does not signify. I would conceive, realistically, if J.J. McCarthy concludes being an inferior quarterback and a disappointment or something, then the Vikings would be inferior, obviously, and then they would be in a predicament. Where do they attempt to proceed all in and acquire a Joe Burrow or something like? Who knows what is feasible at that instant of time. And if not, since there would be an inferior team, you would have to speculate what the draft resembles drafting a new quarterback. Like, I do not believe that they would automatically advance from a Kevin O'Connell, but it would certainly be on the table, and it also would be intriguing to perceive how proficient the defense is. Because if the defense is exceptional, but the offense is a disorder, they terminate Kevin O'Connell and then elevate Brian Flores to be the head coach. Like I declared, man, matters merely become peculiar, and they become peculiar rapidly. And numerous matters that you do not necessarily anticipate conclude transpiring. I imply, 1 minute Sean McDermott and Harbaugh are on apex of the globe. The subsequent minute they are terminated. Presently, Harbaugh is the coach of the Giants, and McDermott is the coach of nothing. It is like, what? That is insane. That transpired rapidly. 1 minute, Brian DeBull, he is the subsequent prominent matter. He directed the Giants and Daniel Jones to defeat the Minnesota Vikings. Presently, he was terminated. And the Bills did not select him as their subsequent head coach with Josh Allen. The very association that was exceptional. Presently, he is going to be the coordinator for the Titans or whatever. Therefore, and he was established to be the quarterback mentor, Brian DeBull. Very comparable to Kevin O'Connell, honestly. and quite frankly possessed even more success with Josh Allen and secured the postseason contest with Daniel Jones and was experiencing a substantial amount of success with Jackson Dart. Therefore, it is merely something to retain in mind. Something to circulate for the subsequent 7 months until we possess Minnesota Vikings football contests again. But so much is going to be on the shoulders of J.J. McCarthy. It is inescapable, and it is going to be immense burden, and they are going to perceive it like, well, perceive what Caleb Williams accomplished in year 2. Perceive Drake May. They are merely going to descend the catalog of all these other quarterbacks and be like, well, perceive. And so it is going to be intriguing. It is going to be intriguing. But those are merely my reflections. I would absolutely adore to hear yours. What do you all contemplate regarding the Minnesota Vikings? How do you perceive regarding Justin Jefferson? Obviously articulating the evident, but he is still articulating it. Still aggravating position to be. Inform me of your reflections. I read each and every comment. Therefore, you concur with me or dispute with me. Either way, let us engage in some discussions. Let us engage in some debates, but ultimately, let us merely derive some enjoyment. Please do contemplate subscribing. We are constructing an amazing community here and absolutely adore to observe you part of it. I desire to construct something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we are genuinely enthusiastic to be part of. I believe we are all well on our path to accomplishing it. Please do not neglect to award this video a thumbs up. It genuinely assists visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so profoundly. I will see you next time.